right, so if you're new to cloud computing or you're looking to jumpstart your cloud computing career, then you need to check out this episode. So I'm going to be having Sharon Bennett with me on this episode of the Tech Talk to walk us through our top 5 cloud computing career advice. So if you're new here, please do smash the subscribe button. And if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. So let's check it out. Hello, everybody. You're welcome to this week's episode of Tech Talk with me, Kazeem. Today, Sharon is going to be talking to us about our 5 important cloud computing career advice. But Sharon, before we delve right in, how about I have you introduce yourself to my audience?
Thank you, and thanks for having me, Kazeem. I'm thrilled to be here. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Bennett. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I have been in the industry for 25 plus years now. I know it doesn't look like it, but I've got a diploma back there that actually has a date from the 90s. I've been doing this a long time. I started off in infrastructure and networking. So Novell out there, anybody? So it's been a long time. My last probably 8 to 10 years have been in cloud. Definitely the last 8 years have been in Azure. And I was, I'm not going to go back to the whole history because it's too long. But the last 8 to 10 years, I was at Microsoft Canada. I opted to leave that role. I went to LinkedIn Learning. I did courses for LinkedIn Learning for 5 plus years. It was about 5 years. And then last fall, I went back to Microsoft, teaching in a virtual environment again with like real people, which was nice. Unfortunately, my tenure there was only 6 months. I've had a family member who was ill, and I needed to step away to be a support system for that family member. But things are looking good, and I hope to be back into some type of capacity. Not sure where in the next couple months.
So since we're talking cloud computing career, Sharon, but how about we begin with the available cloud computing roles, right? So what are those available cloud computing roles that people looking to build a career in cloud computing can choose from, so to speak?
Oh, you name it, it's out there. Where does your heart want to take you? Where do you want your career to take you? So a couple of the big ones right off the top. So if you're going to be new to Azure, and again, I come from an infrastructure point of view, so I'm an old IT pro, um, administrator, right? If you look at Azure administrator, fantastic first steps into Azure, get comfortable with it. After that, you can go into Azure Architect. Those are roles that are in demand. Other roles for cloud computing, and not so much just Azure specific here, but I did pull up the LinkedIn US job report. I think you might have a link for that, and talking about some of the jobs that are upcoming over the next several years. And I focused in on tech, and these are from the US. So just to kind of put that out there. But some of the big ones out there, artificial intelligence, right? Huge. Data, anything to do with data is going to be massive. Digital marketing is out there as well. That's a big one that's coming down the pipe. Digital content creators, those of us who like to create courses, uh, that's another role that we're starting to see on the rise. Yes, it's not so much cloud specific, but you could teach on cloud. The other big one, and Microsoft has been pushing this one, is security. We know that we are going to have a gap. I'm just referring to my notes here. That by 2025, so we're what, talking 2.5 years out now, there will be 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs open globally. That's huge.
Wow.
So if you're looking for a career that will have some longevity, security might be a good one to go, a good place to look. For those of you who do dev, right, application development, Power Platform, all of those. Again, where do you want to go? Where does your passion lie?
Thank you very much for walking us through that. So Let's get some career advice from you now, Sharon. So, if you will, what would be your top five career advice to anyone listening to us today? Who is interested in building a cloud computing career? Yeah.
Top five. Okay, I'll try to keep it to top five. Number one, number one, build your network.
Yeah.
Yeah, I come from LinkedIn. Uh, have a presence on LinkedIn. Update it. Interact on LinkedIn. Post on LinkedIn. Uh, Hands down, probably my top tip. Very closely followed by getting certified, whether that be in the Microsoft stack, whether it be AWS, whether it be Google. You need to prove that you know what you know. So getting certified will just raise you a little bit higher. Become involved in community. I see that you have an MVP uh, badge or certificate behind you. I've got a few behind myself, behind me here. Take the time to get involved. It will pay you dividends. You'll never know who you will meet through a tweet, an event, anything like that. Uh, get involved. Blog. If you don't like people, and I get that, right? Do a blog post. Whatever it is, start to build and become involved with community. That was three. Four, never stop learning, ever. You need to be very strategic about your learning. You need to plan it. It shouldn't be something that you think about, oh, I'm just going to go do that next week, right? Or next month. Sit down with your manager or L&D department and come up with a plan. Is your learning going to be business centric? Are you helping the company move forward? Or is your learning becoming you centric? Are you looking to pivot? Where do you think you need to go next? So be very strategic about your learning, plan it. Uh, every year, usually around the Christmas break, I sit down and plan out the next year. And then I document it. I have a OneNote and I include all the learning that I've done for that year, the learning that I wanted to take. If I didn't take it or I didn't learn it, why? What was the barrier? And sometimes there's just, things just happen, right? And that's okay. But have a plan. Share that plan with your manager, your L&D department, or at least have it for yourself. So that was tip four. Tip five, be ready to pivot. This industry changes so quickly. So not only do you have to keep up with learning, you have to know when to change. You have to know when, hey, you know what? Maybe this role that you're currently in isn't going to exist in 5 years, or maybe it's going to change. And so you have to be ready to pivot. So, kind of tying back into point number four, where do you think you need to learn in order to pivot if you need to do that? So, those are my kind of top five rules.
So before we wrap up, Sharon, let's learn from your experience. I mean, you've done it all, right, Sharon? You've built courses, so you're not just talking the talk, so but you've also worked the work. So I want us to learn, or I want my audience to learn from your experience, Sharon. What is it like working as a cloud architect, and what's your typical day like?
So, I haven't been in the actual building part of Azure in the sense of working with a company and architecting. That being said, I do consulting work on the side. And a lot of what I do in the consultant realm is a lot of hand holding, to be honest. It's a lot of education. It's a lot of how can we make this better? How can we make this more efficient? How can we make it more cost effective? And that tends to be a great part of my role. And then, then we have other, typically the administrators or whoever who actually implement that. But a lot of it again is education. And that comes down to not only educating the client on, maybe moving the SQL virtual machine as is into Azure. Yeah, we can do it, but what are the other ways we can to manage this, right? That are more cost effective, like managed instances, for example. And then it's the comfort level. Okay, let's hold their hand and let's get them to that next point step. So again, we can take that virtual machine and go lift and shift and put it here, but that's working for today, right? That's my job today. What's their role for tomorrow? And that's where I come in as well. I have to look at how they organize and how they plan for today, but I need to look at their future. And so then that comes back to my 5 tips, right? Learning what's coming down the pipe. How can I make it better for my client?
So for those listening to us now and would like to connect with you, Sharon, so where's the best place to find you?
Best place is on LinkedIn, actually. So you can just search Sharon Bennett. If you want to put in MCT or LinkedIn or Microsoft, that will rise me up to the top. Because there's a couple other Sharon Bennett's, and I think there's one that does real estate, and I can't help you buy a house. So definitely, add in the MCT, Microsoft, or LinkedIn, and I'll be right up there. I think I'm wearing. Profile has very short hair, so it's hair before COVID.
Yes, yes. And any last words before we say bye bye now, Sharon?
Biggest piece of advice in this industry: don't stop learning. Never, ever stop learning. It is imperative to your career. And one of the things that I've learned over the years, and I've been doing this a long time, is not only is it a great career for me and for me to have a future, but my children who are now young adults see me learn. They see the dedication and the commitment, and they know that in order for them to have successful careers, they need to do that same thing. So, from a role model point of view, our kids do what we do. And so, if you want your kids to have that same type of dedication and passion for learning, they need to see it at home.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for coming on the show and sharing your experience with us today. So here is where we're going to be drawing the curtain on today's episode of the Tech Talk. So if you'd like to have a rewatch of the previous episode, so please you can do that up on YouTube. So it's the Tech Talk with Kazeem up on YouTube. Sharon, I think we're going to be doing some more episode if you're available. So hope you're open to coming after some time to show us some demos. I mean, I'm one of your students up on LinkedIn myself. So
I love to do demos. Let's do demos. Yes.
All right, Sharon. So thank you very much. So on this note, it's a bye bye from me now, Sharon, and let's do this again another time.
Thank
Bye
you. I
bye.
appreciate it.